Lost in Plot, and we are here with a review of the Amazon original series, Rings of Power.
The Lord of the Rings. It's back and it's been adapted into a brand new series on Amazon Prime, and they've just delivered the 2-episode premiere. So what is this about? Well, it's set way back at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings timeline to stuff I'm not familiar with at all. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, Sauron is out there. He's supposedly creating havoc, and then he disappears. Everyone thinks he's gone, except for one elf, and that's Galadriel. She knows he's still out there, and she's on the hunt to try and find him. And this is just a massive failure of storytelling. And why is that?
No conflict. You don't have any type of conflict, any type of dread that's set up to start. Nothing meaningful that anyone cares about, and it really goes throughout the entire first episode devoid of conflict.
It never gets off the goddamn ground. It is so boring. I was so bored through this entire episode because, yes, it never sets up any stakes, anything significant that you care about. So the story never gets out of first gear. You never care about anything. There's no stakes. There's no empathy. There's no setup.
No, and when you have no conflict, you can't have character, because character is revealed through conflict and the choices that they make. So when you fail to establish a conflict, a meaningful conflict for your characters, they don't have any opportunity to make decisions, to take actions that can reveal their character. So instead, you're left with these very shallow renderings of characterizations that are essentially based on looks more than anything else.
And long scenes that were just had to be pages and pages of dialogue.
Talky
back and forth.
Nothing happens. It's really boring.
Just terrible. And one of the worst casts you'll ever come across. The entire cast is just lifeless, dull cardboard.
Yeah, they suck.
They can't hold a camera. They can't carry a scene, especially Galadriel, our protagonist.
Who I think is easily the worst of the bunch. None of these actors or actresses have any presence or gravitas that they bring to their roles. They don't hold the screen at all. They don't embody a memorable character or even a visage similar to the actors and actresses who played the characters in the Lord of the Rings series.
No. None whatsoever. They are so dull and so boring. Galadriel has no flaws. So again, you're seeing the current modern-day culture trope of the strong female without any flaws, and the only emotion she expresses through the first 2 episodes is anger. It's just anger. I've got to go get revenge.
Yeah,
I'm a commander. I'm a warrior.
Yeah, everyone around me is stupid. They don't understand. I'm right. Everybody else is wrong, and they need to capitulate.
And I was so bored at the end of this, I actually did go and watch the second episode because I thought, shit, I don't have that much to talk about out of that first episode. And it can't be this boring. It can't be this boring.
Oh, but it is.
And I watched the second episode, and it can be. It is that boring. It is that bad. There's not a whole lot of creativity here. Not a whole lot of creative vision behind it. The directing is just as bland as it comes.
The directing is absolutely heinous. And, the other thing is terrible. The costuming is awful. And I've never felt compelled to comment on how bad the costuming is, but it's awful. Like the Harfoots or Hobbits or whatever you call, they all have terrible wings and just a pile of sod dumped on their head. Like, it's really just bare bones costuming that is kind of embarrassing most of the way through.
Nothing really works here.
No.
Nothing works. Except something that I enjoyed was the music, the score. Because this was done by one of my favorites, Bear McCreary. Bear McCreary.
Easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say. Bear McCreary, who did the music for the God of War video game. And he's done a ton of it, but his score is awesome. His score is actually for a different show. I'd like to go see that other show.
It clashed.
Yeah.
It actually made it worse because the music reminded you of like, oh yeah, this should be a lot better than it is.
Yeah.
And like what they presented you is so bad that you're just like, oh.
His music is telling a pretty badass, amazing story that I'd like to be watching. That's not what I'm watching. I'm watching this, which is just real boredom and dialogue nonstop, and then the score crashes in and makes it feel so much weightier and more important. And it's actually doing a service to it. Like, it's pulling it up to make it a bit more interesting than it actually is. Like, he's pulling this whole proceeding up. It's like, imagine you're done shooting and acting everything, and you're just like, God, Get the guy doing the music to try and tell a better story than we've told here with our words and pictures.
Yeah, the bottom line is I did not like this show at all. Cannot recommend it to anybody. For me, it's a 1 out of 10. Like this, I couldn't help but feel in the ramp up and the actual unveiling of this show and then watching it that this is sadly a cultural low moment for the world, essentially. Maybe I'm trying to extrapolate too much from one episode, but this is is as cynical. You take such a beloved property, such a creative and wonderful work that inspired so many people, and you have bastardized it down into this cynical, money-making force of just shit. And I don't think that the series will be canceled. I think there's too much money and resources behind it that I think ultimately what will happen is they'll replace enough people and just barely eke out that creative direction that satisfies the bare minimum of people to keep it going on life support. But they're going to have a lot of rerouting based upon these first couple episodes.
And I'm really glad that you said that, because this made me think that it's something you can extrapolate out to a bigger picture, that our culture nowadays is just creatively bankrupt. It really is. Like, our culture and our films and our storytellers at this point in time, compared to other periods, is got to be one of the worst.
Which isn't to say that there aren't creative and inspired people out there who could create, works much like we had. They're all out there. It's just the people in power and what the order of the day
not
is
on this show.
Is total garbage, and we're all worse off for it. So whoever's in charge and whoever's greenlighting this stuff and whatever their motives are and what they think for entertainment, it's obviously not landing, and we're all worse off because the writers, the actors, the directors that are getting these jobs, getting employed, and making these types of shows are giving us forgettable drivel.
It's shit. It's shit is another way to say that, because I went back, I had to, after these 2 episodes, and I watched just the prologue from The Fellowship of the Ring, which came out almost 30 years ago. Almost 30 years ago. And that sequence had more creative vision, more depth, more interesting camera shots and movement and score and performances than anything in these first 2 hours of this show. Like, it can't even hold a candle to it. Just a minute of that film has more creativity, better direction, better interpretation of the material than anything that they've scrounged up with all the millions and millions of dollars they pumped into this thing.
I've watched those Lord of the Rings films more times than I can count, and even the Hobbit movies too. And never when watching them was there a time that I can recount feeling totally bored. This first episode, I watched 1 episode, I felt like I watched 4. It felt longer than The Fellowship of the Ring just to get through this first episode. It was that boring. It was that uninspired. It had no ideas in it, no conflict, no narrative thrust. It was just a total dud.
So nearly 30 years ago, and they did it 50 times better than anything you're going to see in this.
And that's my point. And this is what we're left with.
Nothing.
This is what we're left with. It's like the hollow echo of something that was done far better 30 years ago, and we get just the soulless cash grab reverberation of that creative genius is what we're being served today. And we're supposed to be excited about it. We're supposed to gobble it up and come back for more. And we're not supposed to point out the obvious, which is that it's a big pile of shit. It's heavy-handed wokeism sticks out like a sore thumb and is totally distracting as well.
Yeah.
It's a complete mess.
And it's dead. It's dead. I have it at a... You had it at a 1. I was being much more generous.
1. It is a 1. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's got my guy, Bear McCreary, and he does a good job.
He gets the 1.
With the score.
There's a 1 for your guy. It's lucky to have that.
Yeah, I'll weigh it in at a 2 and be slightly more generous because he's part of the project.
I'm sure he appreciates it. Guys, that's the word on this show, Rings of Power.
this
whatever they're doing.
This monstrosity that's going to be on every Friday.
Let us know if you think that this is a microcosm of society at large and how
our
creatively
culture
bankrupt
sucks.
we've become.
It's not good.
Yeah. Leave your thoughts and opinions, comment section down below. Like and subscribe. Check us out on Twitter. We'll see you all on the next one.